So let's go to Slovakia against Paraguay. Nigel Adderley, Pat Nevin and Alistair Bruce-Ball are the commentary team. Nigel, could you just pass this text on to Alistair Bruce-Ball from me? It's from Joe. He says, scared of a dragonfly. Alistair Bruce-Ball is a prime example of how the English people have become soft.
Well, in fairness to Ali, Mark, we're all scared. It was on my side of the desk as well.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, the Scottish hard man's coming through.
It was huge. It wasn't a dragonfly. It was like a... I'm not sure. It was like a... It was
pterodactyl. Carry on.
Pterodactyl, yeah. Anyway.
Well, good luck, Pat, with those two softies. I shall leave the three of you to it now.
I have to say I was slightly more scared at being given 20 seconds to sum up England's problems all the way through the midfield before the national anthem. That was a tougher gig.
Anyway, in Group F here, back to square one following the first round of games. Every team has 1 goal and 1 point so far, but I think Paraguay will have taken far more from their 1-1 draw against Italy than Slovakia did from their similar result against New Zealand. And with Slovakia playing the Italians in their final game at Johannesburg, while Paraguay play the Kiwis, Pat, I think the onus really on the European team to win this game today.
Well, absolutely. I mean, but I don't think it'll be a great deal between them. I enjoyed watching Paraguay play in the first game. I thought they played incredibly well. I mean, obviously to take on the Italians, and stick with them, we got very, very close to them. Enjoy them as a team. They're attack-minded, and as you say, the South Americans are doing very well. Thank you very much indeed so far in this tournament. Let's see if they can keep it up.
Well, the team's just changing ends, so Paraguay will play in their red and white stripes from left to right in the first half here in Bloemfontein. And the first thing to say is, I think we have the lowest crowd here of the World Cup so far. This ground holds around 40,000. It's the Free State Stadium for the World Cup, but it's more commonly known as Vodacom Park when they have the big rugby union games here. And I would be surprised if there's more than 15,000 people here. There are pockets of Paraguayan fans in their red, white and blue on the far side, and the Slovaks are down beneath us here, also in their blue and white. But looking up to our left and our right as well, there are huge banks of school children, all very smartly dressed in their school uniforms. Some maroon jumpers away to our right, the sky blue jumpers also in the upper tier as well, Pat. So clearly the locals have been shifting tickets to anyone they can find, and it's disappointing that such an important game isn't being watched by a bigger crowd, but understandable in many ways as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's 64 games in this World Cup. Some of them aren't going to drag out the locals as much as others, but it is a particular shame to see this one being so empty. Large sections of the stadium not covered at all. However, the Vuvuzelas seem to add to the lacking in atmosphere elsewhere.
I think there's a soundtrack for Vuvuzelas. Even when the ground is empty, the first thing you hear are the Vuvuzelas. But the game about to get underway. Our friend from the Seychelles, Eddie Melee, is the referee, having taken charge of Honduras against Chile up in Nails Prate a few days ago. And Slovakia, wearing all white, get the game underway. Paraguay in their red and white stripes, blue shorts and blue socks. The most significant team is for Paraguay the return of the Manchester City striker Roque Santa Cruz. He will play in a 3-man attack. Their team is Justo Villar, their captain, in goal. A back four, Carlos Bonet, Alcon Alcaraz, who scored their goal against Italy, Paulo da Silva of Sunderland, and Claudio Morel. In midfield, Enrique Vera, Victor Caceres, Christian Riveros, with 3 in attack, Nelson Valdez, Lucas Barrios and Roque Santa Cruz. 3 changes for Slovakia following that 1-1 draw against New Zealand. Both full-backs, Zabavnik and Cech of West Bromwich Albion, are dropped along with the midfielder Jędrusek. It's Jan Muka in goal on his way to Everton next season. The back four, Peter Petkarik, Martin Skirtle, Jan de Rietze and Cornel Salata. Vladimir Weiss of Manchester City in midfield on one side with Stanislav Šestak on the other. In the centre, Zeno Sturba and Marek Hamsik with Jan Kozak supporting their goal scorer against the Kiwis, Robert Vitek, in attack. And Slovakia coming forward here in the opening 90 seconds. A ball played forward down this near side for Šestak to chase, but he can't keep the ball in play, and he was offside anyway. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, they have actually started quite well, haven't they, Slovakia? They're lively, they seem up for it. Kind of look at the Paraguayan side here. It's probably more of a... Well, they've changed it a little bit. They started at 4-4-2, but they've gone on to a 4-3-3 now, which means there's a bit of space in the middle of the park. But I think both teams know that they might as well attack in this one. A win for this game gives you a great opportunity to go through in the tournament to the last stages.
Slovakia bring the ball forward on the far side there, right. Neat passing from them in towards Jan Kozak, who plays for the Romanian club Timișoara. He came back into the team today, and they have to take a chance there on the edge of their own penalty area. A back pass towards Muka, closed down by Barrios, but now they try and bring the ball forward again down this near side there left, but the ball is run out of play by Dorica, and that will be a throw-in to Paraguay, who, as Pat said, have made a fine start to this competition, along with many other South American teams. And Europe at the moment is finding its way, apart from the odd exception, as Barrios plays a high ball into the penalty area over Muka's head, and it goes all the way across on the far side, beyond Santa Cruz, out for a throw to Slovakia.
For me, the pick of the Paraguayans has been Barrios in the competition so far, and even in the build-up as well. He looks live, he looks like a scorer. So you think as a duo up from him and Santa Cruz, eventually they will create something, they will get in on the end of something. They do, certainly they've been physical enough.
Santa Cruz with a shot, and Santa Cruz has a shot tipped away by Muka on the edge of the penalty area. A rarity here at the World Cup. He managed to get the shot up and down, and Muka, they're almost caught out. It took a deflection, and Muka in the end making an excellent save to pull the ball behind.
Could hardly get the words out about Santa Cruz when he almost scored a goal. And once again, it's the big thing about sometimes South American sides, you're not always sure how good they are physically going forward. No problem here.
Bonnet with a short corner on the far side, back towards the full-back again, high into the penalty area. Santa Cruz with a header. It's cleared away by Šeštak towards this near side, with 3.5 minutes played here in Bloemfontein, and it's Paraguay 0, Slovakia 0 here on 5 Live Sport from the BBC in Group F. Coming up later on today, up in Nelspruit, it's Italy against New Zealand, and the other game tonight, a big game for Africa, Brazil against the Ivory Coast in Johannesburg. Paraguay coming forward now with Bonnet down this near side there right, and back it goes into the midfield, and Caceres, their only player on a yellow card following the opening game, who has started today, and now Riveros of Sunderland plays it back towards Alcaraz. A neat play from Paraguay here on a pitch which does look a bit dry. They do have very dry winters here on the Central Plateau, and the pitch showing some wear and tear as Paraguay come forward now. A shot on the turn from Valdez is dragged well wide.
Yeah, certainly have a good little 2 or 3 minutes at the moment, and a lively start, and a willingness to get forward as often as they possibly can. And you were saying at the start, you're right enough. I mean, they are trying to be more and more positive, and at the moment Santa Cruz is switching. He's sometimes centre forward upside Barrios, but sometimes one of them goes to the right. But Valdez, he's staying up the field as well, so it's a very strict 4-3-3, an attack-minded attitude. They think they can win this one, Paraguay.
And there should be an understanding in attack alongside Santa Cruz. Both Barrios and Valdez play their club football for Dortmund in the Bundesliga. It's a very cosmopolitan team for Paraguay. Only 2 of their players actually play in the Paraguayan league, whereas Slovakia are concerned, only Saltala, who came into the team today, he plays for Slovan Bratislava. He is the only Slovak-based player in a team full of European experience, and also experience in the Champions League and the Europa League as well. 5 minutes played here, still goalless in Bloemfontein, as a move breaks down for Paraguay down this near side, and Kozak plays it forward for Slovakia, looking for Weiss of Manchester City, but in turn Slovakia give the ball away. A chase on the far side for Valdez, and eventually a big right foot through the ball from Martin Skrtel of Liverpool, long downfield, but the ball doesn't go out of play. It's picked up by Morel, the left back for Paraguay, and they are in the ascendancy in the opening 5 or 6 minutes here. Another warm, sunny day here in Bloemfontein. Clear blue skies overhead, although it was very, very cold last night. The temperature's going down to around -4 degrees Celsius, but I would think 15 or 16 degrees here today in a very sparsely populated stadium, which was redeveloped for the World Cup. There are double-decker stands wrapping round the 3 sides away from us, but this new stand, very, very impressive, but looking around, also very, very empty apart from the media here this afternoon, as Slovakia try and bring the ball forward on the far side, but they give the ball away. Santa Cruz plays the ball down the left, looking for Valdez, overhit, and that will be a Slovak goal kick.
Certainly all the chance so far has been about the Paraguayan attackers, but we're looking for something from the Slovenians as well going forward, and I think a lot of the chance so far in the tournament and earlier on, just before the tournament, was Hamšík. He was the player that a lot of people are expecting huge things off. He tends to play in what the old-fashioned people used to call an inside left position, a kind of attacking midfield on the left-hand side. That's where he started the game so far, but he's hardly had a touch.
Šešťák, their centre forward, has gone down this near side. He fouled Claudio Morel, and our referee from the Seychelles has given Paraguay a free kick. They had a great qualifying campaign in South America, 9 clean sheets. They won more games than both Brazil and Argentina as well. They had a 3-0 win away in Chile, which, based on what we've seen so far, looks a very good result. Also beat Brazil and drew 1-1 in Buenos Aires, and they've often been under the radar in South American football, Paraguay. We always think about Brazil and Argentina, but they've come here to the World Cup looking at this group and thinking they have a real prospect of making at least the last 16, and that should come true if they win here today, with New Zealand coming up in the final game, as Valdez is now fouled. A tackle from behind from Martin Skrtel midway inside the Slovakia half, and this will be a free kick to Paraguay. And in the game we saw the other day, Pat, between Germany and Serbia, that would have been a booking.
Probably about 3 bookings by now.
It would have been a red card, probably, yeah.
The referee we had there was slightly keen to get his fingers into his pocket as often as possible in the first half, but hopefully we won't get that much of that. There haven't been that many terrible refereeing decisions all the way through. I think we look back to the Edu one as possibly the worst one so far in the competition. There have been a couple, you'll always get a few, but that referee for me was the poorest so far.
Claudio Morel with the free kick for Paraguay, pumped high into the penalty area, looking for Santa Cruz. It's headed up in the air by a Slovak defender. It comes infield, and eventually it's cleared away by Martin Skrtel. Long downfield, Vladimir Weiss, the coach of Slovakia, out on the edge of his technical area at the moment. His father, Vladimir Weiss, also played for his country, and his son, Vladimir Weiss, is playing today. A lack of originality there, Pat. That's disappointing.
Well, I've got my dad with the same name as me, so I can't say anything about that.
9 minutes played here in Bloemfontein, and it's still goalless between Slovakia and Paraguay in a group which many people thought Italy would walk, but having seen that game between Italy and Paraguay last Sunday, that doesn't really seem to be the case, and they could have a very difficult game coming up in their final round of matches against Slovakia. As Slovakia win a free kick and quickly play the ball forward now towards Hamšík of Napoli, and a good ball wide towards this near side under Rica, but a very poor ball way overhit and behind for a goal kick, and that's disappointing for the Slovaks because they had both Šešťák and Vitek waiting inside the penalty area.
Yeah, and Darisha gets all the way up that left-hand side. He generally plays at left full-back, got forward very well. He had acres and acres of space to put the ball in between the defenders and the goalkeeper. That was an awful cross there, and certainly the best moment of the game so far for the Slovenians and Slovakia. And surprise, the man at the start of it, or the middle of it, was Hamšík.
10 minutes played here. Slovakia did come through the same group as Slovenia. Of course, they won that group, which included Northern Ireland and the Czech Republic, and forced the Slovenians into that playoff with Russia. And this their first World Cup since gaining independence from Czechoslovakia. So every game for them very, very significant for the players and the supporters, who were very noisy in the airport yesterday when they arrived here in Bloemfontein. And now they've conceded a free kick on the far side, midway inside the Slovak half. A foul on Lucas Barrios by Martin Skrtel, and already Paraguay have shown in the final third they can be dangerous, Pat.
Yeah, and they're not scared, as I say, to put the ball in the middle there, because they have got a little bit of height with the two centre forwards, Barrios and Santa Cruz. Although Barrios has got Lucas in the back of the shirt, I believe. Is that right?
He has, yes. Yeah, only got qualification to play for Paraguay just before the World Cup, having played some youth games for Argentina, but he's now becoming a very important member of their team. The free kick played by Morel, high into the penalty area from the left, and it's nodded down, almost finding Santa Cruz inside the penalty area, and eventually Slovakia will clear long downfield, but it's noticeable when they clear the ball downfield into the Paraguayan half. They're defending so deep in the opening 10 minutes or so, there's nobody, the likes of Šešťák or Vitek, to hold the ball up and relieve some of the pressure.
Yeah, it just shows you how much of the play they've got a hold of at the moment. Slightly disappointed that once again with the free kick that the Paraguayans put in. More often than not from wide areas, you kind of angle the ball in so it's angling towards the goal. That's the normal way to do it. And with the famous Giuliani ball, you'd expect them to do that because you know it's going to move. They angled it out, easy to defend.
Roque Santa Cruz, a good ball forward now in towards the edge of the penalty area, and Vera, but he's beaten to it by Salata, and now Slovakia will try and bring the ball forward with their captain Hamšík down this near side the left. Durica comes on the overlap, but Hamšík holds on to the ball too long, and now Paraguay will play the ball away with Kaserev, and a good ball by Riveros wide towards the far side looking for Bonnet. Into the penalty area for Roque Santa Cruz. Two Paraguayan players are in support. So too the fullback Morel, but Santa Cruz plays the ball back behind the fullback, who does well to drop anchor and go back and win the ball back for Paraguay. Wide towards this near side again, and Enrique Vera, who plays his club football for Atlas in the Mexican League. Vera down the line near side looking to find Barrios, but the pass is cut out and Slovakia will bring the ball away, but then they give the ball away. Very scrappy play here, and now Paraguay have it back again with Bonnet. High ball into the penalty area looking for Santa Cruz. Overhit, although Santa Cruz applauds the intention, and that will be a throw into Slovakia.
If I was the Slovakia manager, I'd be looking at this near-hand side.
Vladimir Weiss?
Yeah.
Not difficult to remember.
One of the many Weisses around. I would be looking at the kind of right-back area. You know, Paraguay, I've got right back here as Bonnet, and he keeps on going forward just a little bit too much, leaving a massive gap behind him. Can be used, and I think it will be used against Paraguay at some point during this game.
5 Live Sport from the BBC, your World Cup station here in Bloemfontein. 13 minutes played, and it's still goalless here between Paraguay and Slovakia, but Paraguay have been awarded another free kick on the far side. It's Claudio Morel, the fullback, who's getting forward an awful lot. In fact, it was Roque Santa Cruz who was fouled in the end, and that was a late challenge from behind, and our referee from the Seychelles has been fairly lenient so far. That
was a delicate description of it, a late challenge from behind. It was assault from behind. It was a dreadful challenge. He just took his leg away. He was lucky he wasn't standing on that leg at the time. It could have cracked.
Paraguay play it forward down this near side there right, and they win a throw-in level with the edge of the Slovakian penalty area, which will be taken by Bonnet. Coming short towards him is Barrios, who does well to control it now. Neat control into the penalty area, but he then can't maintain possession, and Slovakia will head the ball away. It's Kozak up towards the halfway line, and now there's a foul on Sešták, a rather stop-start passage of play at the moment, and that will be a free kick to Slovakia with 14 minutes played, and it's still 0-0.
Yeah, it's 14 minutes played, and only one time during the game. Very first minute you thought that Slovakia was starting well, but left-hand side, one occasion where Sešták actually played a decent ball behind and it wasn't converted, the ball wasn't played in very well, it was crossed over the bar. Other than that, Slovakia haven't been up the pitch.
Lovely sunny day here in Bloemfontein as Paraguay try and bring the ball forward again. Valdez will chase a back pass towards Muka. And the Everton-bound goalkeeper does well to clear the ball downfield for the Slovaks. But neat control on the far side. And you notice, Pat, every Paraguayan player comfortable on the ball. The first touch usually sticks.
I know, and it sounds like such a cliche, but isn't that always the case with the South American players? They do seem a lot more comfortable in these conditions with this ball than just about any European side.
A bit of work to do now for Paulo da Silva of Sunderland, but he does well to mop up at the back under pressure from Sešták, and Paraguay will try and move the ball forward again. But the game in general being played at a rather pedestrian pace at the moment on this Sunday lunchtime here in Bloemfontein. A long ball played forward by Paraguay, headed away by Salata. But Paraguay in their red and white stripes win the ball back, but they're confident and comfortable to just knock the ball around the back four before it's played wide to the far side. And Morel. Santa Cruz offering support down the left-hand side. The challenge comes in from Pekaric, and that will be a final touch of Santa Cruz and a throw into Slovakia on the far side, their right. Taken by Pekaric, who plays for Wolfsburg, and he was part of the side beaten by Fulham in the Europa League matches towards the end of the season, and he'll be looking to impress his new coach Steve McLaren here at the World Cup, as Kozak has it now for Slovakia on the far side, further wide towards Vitek, and Vitek does well to go beyond his man and find Vladimir Weiss into the penalty area now for Vitek. Sešták thinks about going down under the challenge of Bonnet but doesn't do so, but Paraguay clear, but now Slovakia have the ball back. A long diagonal ball played into the penalty area, way overhit and behind for a goal kick.
Lovely, neat little play from one of the many vices that are around today. Dummy down the right hand side, played across. Once again there was an overlap on this left hand side. The Slovakian team could not use it, but that will give them a little bit more hope.
And if you want to know what Pat's favourite vice is, then call him tonight on 606 0500 909 693. Pat alongside Colin Murray between 6 and 7 this evening Colin in Johannesburg and Pat here in Bloemfontein. I understand, Pat, that Messrs Warnock and Savage raised the bar quite high last night.
Did they? I look for it. In fact, I might even go and try and download and have a listen to it beforehand.
Long ball played forward now over the top by Slovakia again. And it goes all the way through from one goalkeeper, Muka, to VR, the Paraguayan captain, at the other end. Apparently, Mr. Savage said if he's not watching football or playing football, he's bored. I'm sure Mrs. Savage is highly delighted by that. Paraguay try and move. On the far side, they win a free kick. A foul on Valdez, and a number of challenges coming in from behind in the opening 17 minutes here. This one from Petkarik. And so far, our referee from the Seychelles has not shown a yellow card.
Yeah, he must be tempted at some point because it's become a little bit annoying for him just now, because it's time and time again the ball is played up to any of the centre forwards or the left winger on this occasion. The Slovakian players, the defenders, just come straight through. He has to do something about it. The FIFA hate to see that happen.
Paraguay scored their goal against Italy from a set piece. Morel with a high ball towards the far post. Dreadful delivery. And what's the referee doing here? I think he's telling the players just to cut out some of the pushing and pulling inside the penalty area, so Morel here will have a second opportunity.
Yeah, it's good to see the referee spotted that just now, because there's no doubt that the Slovakian defenders do a great deal of that, holding, grabbing. In fact, they're doing it just again. I mean, they just don't stop.
Morel with the free kick, high into the penalty area towards the far post, and Paulo da Silva arrived, just couldn't get purchase on the ball, and it's gone behind for a goal kick.
And it was at the back post there, and it was Vitek that was marking him, and he did a terrible job of marking at the back post there. You know, he lets the player get away from him, get in front of him, doesn't even attack the ball himself. I think even though he's a centre forward, Vitek will be breathing a large sigh of relief there. He could have cost the team a goal.
But we're seeing the replay. Skirtle had Alcaraz in a headlock there.
Can I say that that's not the first time that I've seen Skirtle doing that?
No. But in the game, the USA game the other night, the goal that was disallowed, they could have had 3 penalties. But Paraguay now win the ball off Skirtle. And it's Barrios wide to the left-hand side, and Valdez. Santa Cruz waits inside the penalty area. Valdez holds on to the ball. The shot will come in eventually, and it's a good shot, and it's a good save. In the end, it was Bonnet up supporting the attack with the shot, and it was a fine save for Mucha because it was low, bounced in front of him, and he did well to hold the ball.
I think that's a fantastic save by Mucha, because that's exactly the kind of shot, exactly the kind of ball that's causing all sorts of problems to goalkeepers. Strange how he took it. He patted it down from about a foot. It was a strange save. A good one, but a strange one.
He could have got unlucky there, Mucha, because had that ball just slipped back up in the air, there were a couple of Paraguayan players looking to profit.
I think he was delighted it didn't quite bounce in front of him. He had to take it almost on the volley. Only about 6 inches off the ground. But what the goalkeepers hate in this competition is anyone who shoots from any distance and it bounces 2 or 3 feet in front of them. 19
minutes played here. It's still Paraguay 0, Slovakia 0 on your World Cup station, BBC 5 Live, as Santa Cruz comes forward now, plays the ball square towards Vera for Paraguay, but he gives the ball away and then eventually fouls a Slovakian player, and that Kozak, and that will be a free kick to the team wearing all white, who have to face Italy in their final game in Johannesburg. So we were saying at the start the onus on Slovakia to win this game, but so far Paraguay, Pat, have been the better team. Oh, but if I would go for anyone before the game, but watching the 2 games we've seen in the competition so far, I think Paraguay looked a better side, and I think they believe that without a doubt as well, because they're the team that want to go forward, they want to get the ball down. Maybe just a little bit more width is needed for them. They've got 2 very good strikers up there. They need some decent service at some point. Riveros has been fouled, and he very quickly plays the free kick for Paraguay. Wide towards the far side, and they bring the ball forward again with a good deal of comfort. Vera with a back heel. Will he find Morel? It was a nice idea. Bonnet, the fullback, was coming forward down this near side, but it was overhit. But it's that sort of movement, that sort of invention, Pat, which could unlock Slovakia here. There actually is a decent understanding between Vera and Bonnet here on this right-hand side going forward. The problem is for the Paraguayan right-hand side, they only want to go forward. They don't really want to defend either of them. And I've still not figured out who really is the right fullback and who's the right midfielder, because they switch about all the time. More often than not, both of them want to go. Skirtle now for Slovakia. 21 minutes played here and still goalless in Bloemfontein. He plays it back towards his goalkeeper Mucha, who takes a touch, and then with Valdez trying to charge the goal kick down, clears the ball long downfield for Slovakia, but it's neatly controlled by Caceres, who anchors the Paraguayan midfield, and played back towards Alcaraz, who very quickly finds Morel, and Paraguay knock the ball around again very comfortably in their final third. Coming up later on here on 5 Live at 3 o'clock, Italy against New Zealand, the other game in this group today in Nails Plate, and then tonight in Johannesburg, Brazil against the Ivory Coast. Of course, Sven-Göran Eriksson beaten by Brazil when he was England coach back in 2002. And that's such a big game for Africa, isn't it, Pat, as well?
Yeah, and we were talking about the fact that Europeans aren't doing as well as the South Americans. The Africans are having a stinker so far in this tournament. They need to get someone through.
Weiss coming forward now for Slovakia. On the far side there, right, he invites the challenge from Caceres, and Slovakia have a throw-in, which will be taken by Petkovic. And not too much movement ahead of him inside the penalty area. Kozak makes the run down the byline now, and is found by Petkovic. Back towards Petkovic again, a ball swung into the penalty area. Alcaraz tried to head the ball away, heads the ball back towards his own goal, and it's gathered well by Justo Villar, the Paraguayan goalkeeper and captain. So we've reached the midpoint of the first half. It's Paraguay 0, Slovakia 0. Here's Alistair Bruce Ball.
Thank you, Nigel, and suddenly a chance for Paraguay at the other end of the field. Little back heel into the penalty area. Vera lays it back to Barrios. Little dummy from him in the white boots. Drives the shot just over the crossbar and behind for a Slovakian goal kick. There's the danger from Barrios, who was very impressive in the first game against Italy as well. I don't know about you, Pat Nevin. I think there's something of the sort of three musketeers about Paraguay's three frontmen. We've got Santa Cruz in the side today, Barrios I've just mentioned, and Nelson Valdez. Tall men, dark hair, rich tan skin, swashbuckling strikers.
Yeah, the only thing that unlike the Three Musketeers is the Three Musketeers tended to work together. They're all working as individuals at the moment. But other than that, I see your point.
Thank you. Slovakia 0, Paraguay 0 in a very disappointingly empty stadium here. Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein. Possibly a few more have come in since kick-off. But as Nigel Adderley was saying right at the top of the commentary, it must be one of the most poorly attended games of this World Cup. It's a lunchtime kick-off. We've got bright blue skies, so we're in shirt sleeves, nice and warm at the moment. We'll obviously get colder. Durica, the Slovakian left-back, claims he was caught as he was making a little foray down the left-hand side. He's going to hobble back slowly, so Slovakia will have to cover him. He hasn't got the free kick, and here come Paraguay across the halfway line. With Antolin Alcaraz, the goal scorer against Italy. Nice little turn here, edge of the penalty area. Driven shot is from Valdez. It's a good 5, 6, 7 yards wide of the left-hand post. But again, Pat, the danger from Paraguay's front three. Yeah,
as you're saying, it's they get it individually, they go for it. The only player who seems to want to link up is Barrios, and for me, he's been the pick of the bunch so far. A couple of little back heels which look cute as well, but I say that far left-hand side as he's playing just now, I think he's come in very, very well, Valdez, and looked dangerous, but he never seems to want to cross.
The Mexican wave has begun.
Do you think there's a critical mass that's going to be able to master that Mexican wave in the far side?
Well, I was just going to say, never a sign of a good game of football, and if there's anything worse than a Mexican wave this early in the game, it's a Mexican wave in a half-empty stadium.
There's not quite enough to get past it. Oh, it's just get past the Hayward. Just get past.
It's sort of relying on 2 or 3 people are the key links at certain points where they're practically sitting on their own. If they don't get up, the whole thing falls down. Slovakia 0, Paraguay 0. 25 minutes played in Bloemfontein, and Paraguay in the red and white vertical stripes, blue shorts, blue socks, playing from left to right in this first half. All the teams after the first game are on 1 point. Paraguay took the lead against Italy and were pegged back after a rather unfortunate mistake by their goalkeeper Villar, who completely missed a cross and let De Rossi come in behind him to score Italy's equaliser. Here's Skirtle giving it a good old-fashioned clout downfield with his right foot. The ball bounces high and hard as it always does on these pitches in South Africa. Whacks a cameraman on the head and disappears behind for a goal kick. The ball boy immediately slings the ball back into play so Paraguay can get going quickly, but it's a loose pass back from Riveros, which De Silva will have to go and collect. And Slovakia, of course, really disappointed to be pegged back against New Zealand. Obviously the weakest team in this group. Slovakia leading 1-0 in that game. Winston Reid scoring with a very late header. So 0-0 at the moment. Paraguay with 5 efforts on goal so far. Slovakia with none. Valdez isn't going to be able to keep this in on the far side, and the ball drifts behind for a Slovakia throw.
Do you know what? There's no getting round the fact just now that Slovakia have been hugely disappointing in this first quarter of the game. You know, I don't want to go too hard on teams, at the start of a game, they'll be feeling their way into it sometimes, but this is the World Cup, this is the games that you have to go and win. There's no point in sitting back and hoping for the odd little break now and again. I think luck favours the brave at this level. Go and win a game, second game in the group, you've got a point on the board, but they just sit back.
Now here's Barrios on the edge of the Slovakian penalty. He's trying to slot a ball into Vero, shoots and scores for Paraguay. A deserved lead after 26 minutes here in Bloemfontein. Slovakia gave the ball away. Barrios teed it up and Vera buried it into the back of the net. It's Slovakia 0, Paraguay 1.
I was right on the edge of saying what this game needs is for Paraguay to score. Then Slovakia have no choice. They must get out. They must come and attack the game. Precisely what happened is exactly what the game needed, but also what the game deserved. Lovely little pass through. Finally, Barrios, I was mentioning the fact that he's the one player of the forward players that I think wants to link up. And he linked up well. Straight through to Vera. Got forward. Classy finish with the outside of the boot into the far corner.
Third goal for his country. Just watching the replay again, and exactly as Pat Nevin says, extremely coolly taken. Didn't try and whack it, saw the gap in the corner, and the bespectacled coach Gerardo Martino, who is actually an Argentine coach of this Paraguay national team, lifted both fists into the air and punched them wildly. Paraguay have the lead, a deserved lead. Slovakia 0, Paraguay 1, and so we'll just have to see if Slovakia have got a little bit more to offer in this game. Throw in for Paraguay. BBC Radio 5 Live, coming up to half an hour played in our first World Cup commentary of this Sunday afternoon. Here come Paraguay again. Vera, the goal scorer, is charging through onto a through ball, can't get there. Skirtle hooks it away. Coming up at 3 o'clock this afternoon, we have Italy against New Zealand, which is the other game in this group. And then the big one tonight, Brazil against the Ivory Coast from Soccer City in Johannesburg. Brazil, of course, winning their first game against North Korea. Kaká slightly disappointing there, but definitely looking forward to see what more they have to offer to this World Cup. All going very well for South American teams, as it is for Paraguay here. It's got the vuvuzelas blasting again. Totally and utterly deserve the lead, don't they, Pat?
Yeah, by a long way. And the lovely thing, I was very interested to see what would happen a minute or two after the goal's been scored, because watched Chile earlier on in the tournament. As soon as they scored the first goal, thinking, will they sit back like most Europeans do and just say, come on and beat us? No, they went and attacked. Looks to me as if Paraguay are going to do exactly the same. They've got one goal, carry on regardless, try and get a second one. That's their attitude. Delighted to see it.
Here come Paraguay again. This time it's a rather more agricultural long ball forward, headed away by Skirtle. Battle for possession in midfield between Valdez and Kozak. The ball comes off Valdez in his bright yellow boots. So Slovakia get the throw. Now here's a ball down the channel for Sestak to chase. He can't get there. De Silva goes down for Paraguay, but it'll only be a goal kick. The other thing I question about the Slovaks so far today, Pat, apart from their rather negative approach at the start of this game, was their lack of etiquette in queuing when we arrived at the stadium, because you or I very dutifully stood in the queue waiting to get in, and in they barged, didn't they?
Yes, we were very British about it. I was slightly less British about it than you,
yes.
and I made a cutting remark. That showed them, didn't it? They ignored it completely.
You made the cutting remark, and I just said,
ushered them
carry
forward.
on. Yeah, exactly. I was absolutely pathetic, and then scared of the dragonfly as well before kickoff. So, not really selling myself as the 5 Live hard man this afternoon. Half an hour played in Bloemfontein.
But very classically BBC, though.
Yes, thank you, Pat. Thank you very much indeed. There's a bad mistake from Salata, the Slovak centre-back, who just let the ball run over his toe there. So the ball has gone out for a Paraguay throw midway inside Slovakia's half. Bonnet, the right back, just comes up and dries his sweaty hands on his blue shorts and then tosses it down the right-hand touchline. Santa Cruz controlled it. And does he want a free kick there or a throw? He's actually got another throw. Bonnet throws in. Little turn and chest down from Valdez is hacked away by Slovakia again. Flick on from Vitek. He was fouled. Weiss wants to take it quickly. And here's Hamšík, Slovakia's star man. We have seen very, very little of him. He hasn't really had the opportunity to play. Plays for Napoli, only 22 years old, captain of the side. Here he is again in the centre circle, back to goal, and fizzes a quick pass back to the centre-back, Salata. Little dummy from him. Straight ball down the middle of the pitch. Šeštak's just trying to turn it round the corner. Slovakia have it back again in the centre circle with Sturber, their holding midfielder. Vitek comes short, little layoff from him. Better movement from Slovakia, better bit of possession football. Here's Vitek again, manages to maintain control. Paraguay holding Slovakia at arm's length, but here they come down the right-hand side and they've worked that well. And here's Hamšík, lovely little first-time pass from him. Then the left-footed cross in towards the back post, goes all the way past Vladimir Weiss, and the ball drifts behind for a goal kick. That's the best football we've seen from Slovakia so far, I think, Pat.
And it comes precisely 1 minute after the system was completely changed around by the manager. He's taken Weiss from the right winger, he's brought him over to the left-hand side. He's trying to make it a more attacking-looking outfit. In actual fact, these players look more comfortable in there. They look as if they want to go on the ball, pass and move. It only took a moment. I think he was possibly playing a system that the players weren't comfortable before. They look a little bit better now. Can they keep it up?
There's a flick on from Santa Cruz. Paraguay are in again here. Barrios with a touch, just enough from Skirtle on the challenge. Just held Barrios up, covered by Salata. He came across and whacked the ball away. Slovakia trailing Paraguay by 1-0. 13 minutes left to play in the first half here on BBC Radio 5 Live, your World Cup station, watching this game with Pat Nevin. There's a handball inside the penalty area there from Barrios, who claims he was pushed into it. Definitely touched his hand, and so it will be a free kick to Slovakia. Their goalkeeper Jan Muka, we will see playing for Everton next season. They've signed him from Legia Warsaw. He's been listening to Beatles albums, Pat, to try and improve his English. Good idea.
Has it looked at the amount of players that have come from Liverpool that actually play for Everton at the moment? Not that many.
Ball's gone behind.
It's always good. I have to say, I mean, if you go to Liverpool, it's always good to have a knowledge of the Beatles, because they don't often call them the Beatles, they call them them. It's just them. They were really good then, weren't they?
Well, he's doing the right things, and I think so far, I don't think he had too much he could have done about the opening goal here for Paraguay, and was fairly impressive in the opening game as well. So I think David Moyes, who of course was summarising for us for the first 2 weeks of this World Cup, will be satisfied. Kozak's ball through here. First real danger for Paraguay. Intercepted by De Silva. He's hooked the ball high in the air. And Vladimir Weiss of Manchester City brought it down beautifully on the instep, but was then tackled, and Paraguay have whacked the ball downfield, and Salata's got a decision to make. Comes back to his goalkeeper Muka, who we were just talking about, all in green. He's cleared downfield down the left-hand touchline. Kozak with a backward header, easily intercepted by the goal scorer Vera. Santa Cruz looking for a little 1-2 with Barrios. Santa Cruz into the penalty area, down by the byline, tries to pull the ball back, falls over, as he does so, cross is intercepted. Yeah,
but good energy there, and he flashed through a little bit of space opening up now.
Yeah, Hamšík's got onto the ball here, 25 yards out, crosses in, crosses too far. It went over the head of Šeštak. Real opportunity for Slovakia there. It goes begging. Paraguay still lead 1-0.
Always makes for a better game when the game's lengthened. You know, one side attacks, and we've seen Rocky Santa Cruz goes down there. Very unfortunate, just at the touchline, not to draw the ball back. Within 3 or 4 seconds, the ball's up the other end and almost a through ball. So when the game's that long, there's a bit of space. Players can't cover the areas and you get chances.
10 minutes to half-time in Bloemfontein. Enrique Vera's goal separating these two sides. So ahead of Italy, New Zealand this afternoon. Paraguay, if it stays like this, will go top of the group with 4 points and will face New Zealand in their last game. They definitely think if they can win here, then they should be making it through to the last 16. They've conceded a free kick midway inside their own half, so we'll have to see what Slovakia can offer from here. Hamšík, who like so many players at this World Cup, has the fluorescent orange heels to his boots, decides to leave it for one of his teammates to take the free kick, so the white shirts pile forward, trailing by 1-0. Bonnet, the right back, comes herring out of defence just to make a two-man wall for Paraguay. And here is the set-piece opportunity for Slovakia. Drifted in towards the far post, headed away by De Silva, not behind for a corner, ball drops down, second clearing header, this time comes from Caceres, and the ball goes out for a Slovakian throw, just short of the corner flag on the left-hand side. Durica spins this Jabulani ball in his right hand, holds it behind his head, looking for options. Vladimir Weiss comes short, decides not to use him. Durica gets the ball back, wins Slovakia a corner. Pat Nevin.
Without being absolutely fabulous, it's certainly the best period of play for Slovakia. I mean, I just mentioned the fact that they changed the system around and they moved the forwards around, switched the wide players around. There's a big difference in playing with a little bit more confidence.
Vladimir Weiss, the coach's son, again offers short for the corner. Kozak doesn't want that, curls it in with his right foot. Oh, it's a free header and it's over the crossbar. A real opportunity for Salata, the centre-back there. Holds his head in his hands, jogs back into position. Slovakia's best chance of the game.
The only thing I would say about me, he couldn't give much purchase on it because the ball arrived to him and he was maybe slightly leaning back, but he wasn't getting a run onto it. That's the big thing. He wasn't getting a run onto it, so it was difficult for him to get the ball headed down. Just maybe an inch or two lower, he may have got it on target, and it would have been difficult to save because, as you correctly say, a completely free header.
Paraguay leading Slovakia by 1-0. Just going back to the father-son thing for Slovakia, Vladimir Weiss and the manager, who I think Celtic fans will know extremely well actually, because he was in charge of Arts Media Bratislava when they thumped Gordon Strachan's Celtic side 5-0 in his first game in charge in that Champions League qualifier. Has his son playing on the wing. He's on the ball now. Quick, nippy little winger from Manchester City. Here he comes. Nice skill as well, darting down the left-hand side. He's got 3 red and white shirts around him. Eventually he's tackled by a 4th, which is Vera, and he's conceded the free kick, or Slovakia have in the end. Paraguay have a chance to clear. I was just thinking, though, Pat, it's a slightly nepotistic World Cup in this sense, because we've got the Vice, we've got the Bradleys from the USA. I was doing that game the other day, USA against Slovenia, and for a father to watch his son, Michael Bradley, score a goal like that must have been an absolutely incredible family experience.
I think the usual suggestion when you say nepotism is a negative thing, because it's only getting a game because he's father's son. If you go and score the important goal like that, I think you don't think it's a negative thing. But you're absolutely right. An unusual thing that has happened twice in this World Cup. I'm sure Weiss would love to score today for his father.
We've got the son-in-laws as well. Ball is given away almost to Vera. Here comes Santa Cruz into the edge of the box. Right-footed shot is saved by Muka with his right boot. Again, Slovakia gifted Paraguay the opportunity. They couldn't quite take it that time. And Paraguay still lead by 1-0, but Santa Cruz very, very nearly on the score sheet.
And don't remember, not a bad save at all by Muka. Gets his right leg out, and he needs to do that. It doesn't matter which part of your body you save it with, but he deliberately stuck his right leg out. Great save there. I'll tell you what, Slovakia could have been out of this game already.
Yeah, it could be 3-0 down. As it is, they're 1-0 down.
And they are getting caught in possession constantly. They're back. The right full-back, the left full-back, they've both been caught in possession a few times. And certainly the centre-back, he's been caught, and Salata, he's been caught on a couple of occasions as well. The only one who hasn't been caught in possession is our man Skirtle, who doesn't keep possession long enough.
6 minutes to half-time. Slovakia pressing down the right-hand side. That cross looks too deep. Weiss can't keep it in. The ball bounces behind, and it goes out for a goal kick to Paraguay. And as well as the father-sons, we've got the sons-in-law here at this World Cup as well, Pat, with Mark van Bommel, who is the Dutch coach's son-in-law, and Sergio Aguero, who is the son-in-law of Diego Maradona for Argentina, and father to his grandchild Benjamin. So there's lots of sort of family connections at this World Cup, as a long clearance downfield by Paraguay could cause Slovakia problems again. Barrios down by the byline, couldn't quite keep it in, and the ball drifts behind for a Slovakia goal kick.
Skirtle grabbed a hold of his shirt there as he ran through. Didn't make any big deal of it. Barrios just got on with it as if he's used to that sort of thing. Skirtle seems to have done that quite a few times, certainly at the corner kicks. I mean, he's all over the man that he's marking. If it's Barrios or whether it's Santa Cruz, he's all over the place marking him. He's pulling his shirt, rugby tackling him, but the referee doesn't seem to have pulled him up so far.
Paraguay leading Slovakia by 1-0 in Bloemfontein. A real party going on away to our right-hand side. South African fans, I think, behind Jan Muka's goal. Singing, dancing, blowing the vuvuzelas, waving the scarves. Here comes Slovakia down the left-hand side. It's the left-back Durica. Weiss just behind him. A little back heel from him to Durica, who's run it out of play and out for a throw-in. And Slovakia trying to work it in tight spaces. Weiss is frustrated, but Paraguay get the throw. Floodlights are shining brightly in Bloemfontein. All the games the floodlights are on, despite the fact it's absolutely beautiful winter's afternoon. It was chilly this morning. Pat was out there running and spotted the frost.
Yeah, it was a beautiful morning, but it's a very, very strange feeling. There's actually frost on the ground, still on the ground, but within about half an hour it's really nice and warm. It's a very, very strange thing. Not something you often see in the UK.
Definitely gets colder as we head towards our afternoon games. Italy, New Zealand kicking off at 3 o'clock. Brazil, Ivory Coast is at 7:30. Both full commentaries here on 5 Live this Sunday afternoon. So much other sport going on as well. The US Open golf final round. Commentary from 10 o'clock this evening with Northern Ireland's Graham McDowell. 3 shots off the lead held by Dustin Johnson, and Tiger Woods 5 shots off that lead after a fantastic round of 66 yesterday. Wimbledon starts tomorrow, so we've got a preview in between the Italy and Brazil games this evening at 5:30 your time with our correspondent Jonathan Overend. And you can have a chance to have a chat to Pat Nevin as well at 6 o'clock this evening. He's on 6:06 with Colin Murray. Jan Durica, Slovakia's left back, has got extremely frustrated. He's come clattering into the back of Riveros. We have our first yellow card of the afternoon.
Yeah, and it's maybe just for the angle that he came in. He actually got the tackle in very clean indeed. Got the ball first, but in that he came in from an angle behind the player. The referee said it was a little bit reckless, and I think he's certainly within his rights there. Certainly been far too many Slovakian tackles from behind in this game so far.
So, Paraguay free kick. Big strip of shade just starting to creep across the right-hand half of the field as Paraguay attack that goal away to our right-hand side. And the ball here is just ahead of that shade. You can just see the little floodlights all indented in the turf. Waiting to take the free kick. Morel, the left back, thinks the wall is too... I don't think it's really going to be a problem from this distance. Should be able to get it over that wall. 2-man wall. Morel is going to curl it with his left foot. It's flicked on. The referee spotted some pushing and shoving in the box. And so Slovakia will get a free kick. 2 minutes to half-time, and they're still trailing by 1-0.
There's usually very good camera work in this World Cup, and sometimes you're replaying on monitors here where they show you the pushing and pulling in the box, and quite often you'll see the defender doing a huge amount of pulling. As soon as the attacker goes and puts his hand out, gives a free kick against him.
Santa Cruz on the halfway line moves from shade to sunshine with his bright yellow boots. Plays it wide to Vera, the goal scorer. Cross in towards the far post, nodded down. The 2 Paraguay strikers almost got in each other's way there. Hamšík controls midway inside his own half. Slovakia in all white with the blue trim to their kit have a chance to build something here. Kozak brought into the side today as one of 3 changes. Plays the ball to the right back Pekarik, who's under pressure from 2 defenders, so decides to come backwards. Kozak, little back heel to himself, rolling the ball under his studs. Time running out for Slovakia in this first half, trailing by 1-0. Durica, who just got the yellow card, and Paraguay just quite happy at the moment to press Slovakia, keep them inside their own half. Now they try and add a little bit of bite to the attack. They've given the ball away, could be dangerous. Here's Valdez, loose pass from him, doesn't find Barrios. Slovakia get it back, chip ball over the top from Sturba, offside flag stays down, but Sestak can't catch it. And so Justo Villar, the Paraguayan keeper, makes an easy catch on the edge of his box.
It's interesting you mentioned about the 3 strikers earlier on, and each of them individually, as you're saying, looks very, very good. I've been watching their body language, their attitude towards each other. I think those are 3 guys who all think they are the star of the show just now, and that is a problem. If you're going to go further in this tournament, you've got to work together, and for me, Santa Cruz has made no attempt to work with any other player up front beside him. Barrios, give him his due. He wants to try a little bit, but certainly Valdez, he seems to be out here. A good player, desperate to go and attack as much as he can, but doesn't want to work with anyone else.
Yellow card is given to the goal scorer Vera for a challenge on Durica, the Slovakian left back. Just getting a little bit tasty, that sort of personal battle between those two. Now both on yellow cards, so we'll keep an eye on that. 1 minute's added time at the end of this game. I can't really think of any stoppages at all. Ball is flicked on the edge of the Paraguayan box. VR comes across, doesn't even bother catching it, just lets it drift behind for a goal kick. He was the man, of course, who was in goal for Paraguay at the last World Cup in the first game against England, and was taken off in tears after only 8 minutes. England winning that game by 1-0 when David Beckham's free kick drifted all the way into the back of his net, went off with an ankle injury, and that was the end of the World Cup. You wait all your life for a tournament like that to come along, and all you get to do is play 8 minutes, and he was very, very upset, but he gets a second chance here in 2010. Muka at the other end, the Slovak keeper, clears long, downfield with his right foot over all his players in the white shirts. Paraguay decided to keep it in play with De Silva in the right back position. Lofted ball down the right-hand side. Santa Cruz wins a flick on, and that is good teamwork. Little 1-2 there between Barrios and Santa Cruz. They tried another little pass between the two. It didn't come off, and Durica has a chance to clear for Slovakia. The half-time whistle blows, and it is Paraguay, Pat Nevin, who lead by 1-0 and deserve that lead as well.
Yeah, Richard deserved the better side. They've had a good few chances. Probably deserved to be more than one goal up, but they are only one goal up just now. And just that little moment there where we saw the two forwards, Santa Cruz and Barrios, up front together, tried to play a 1-2 together, as you say, work together. When it didn't work out, they both blamed each other. Body language absolutely terrible. This is a decent team, but they got to work as a team, as a group. They're trying to do that right now. They're right in the middle of the park, having a little huddle.
Yeah, showing real team unity there, actually, Paraguay at half-time. We've seen a few teams do this, but in their red and white striped shirts, just met in the centre circle, had a little chat about the first half, encouragement for the second half. They will get a pat on the back from their manager. They lead by 1-0, Mark. Paraguay leads Slovakia by 1-0, and as we were saying, with New Zealand to come in the final game, if they can win this game, then they really will. Well, they'll be through to the last 16. So it's looking good for Paraguay at the moment. Half-time here in Bloemfontein. Paraguay 1, Slovakia 0.
Thank you, Mark. Just underway in the second half here at the Free State Stadium. Paraguay leading by 1-0, and a very big 45 minutes coming up for both teams. If Paraguay can win this game, they'll have their destiny very much in their own hands, with New Zealand to come in their final game. So the onus, again, is on Slovakia to offer a bit more in their second half. On the whole, they were disappointing. Only one effort on goal in the opening 45 minutes and none on target. You contrast that with Paraguay, who scored the goal through Enrique Vera, and they comfortably have been the better side and offered more of a threat in the final third. And Pat, as the shadows begin to creep across the pitch here and it begins to get a bit chilly, Slovakia and their big players, we're talking about England's big players, Slovakia's big players have got to step up as well.
Absolutely, there's very few that have hugely impressed so far. I mean, you got to say Skirtle's did what Skirtle generally always does. You know, he's doing, and he does it as I speak, goes and leathers the ball upfield. But we're expecting the huge amounts of Hamsik. Really hasn't come to the party yet. For me, Weiss, another player he's got a bit of skill, he's got a little bit of pace, he plays out wide, but he's got to lift his head at some point. He's got 2 or 3 and sometimes 4 players around him. He hasn't realised there's 3 or 4 players around him because he's got his head down. You've got your head up in those situations.
A reminder of the teams again. Slovakia, Mucha in goal. The back 4, Petkovic, Skirtle, Salata and Dorica. Weiss, Sturber, Hamsik and Kozak in midfield, with Vitek and Šešťák in attack. For Paraguay, VR in goal, Bonnet, Alcaraz, Da Silva and Morel, the back 4. 3 in midfield, Vera the goal scorer, as Šešťák is shown a yellow card there for a foul. Caceres and Riveros, with Valdez, Barrios and Santa Cruz, the 3 men in attack. But as Pat was saying, very little cohesion for much of the opening 45 minutes as a trio. Individually, very good players, but I'm sure the manager, Geraldo Maltino, will want more in the second half.
He certainly will, and they might get a little bit frustrated if they don't get a second goal. Talking about frustration, Vitek's booking there was pathetic. He's nowhere near the ball, and that was pure frustration. He just went and lashed into the defender who was running away from him. Shouldn't take a chance like that in the World Cup. Bookings are easy to come by. They can end up with 10 men from that piece of stupidity.
Morel with the free kick, high into the penalty area towards the far post, headed up in the air and away by Salata towards the far side. The other number 21, Alcaraz, tries to play the ball back into the penalty area for Paraguay. He's challenged though by Skirtle, and this will be a throw into Paraguay on the far side in the portion of the pitch still illuminated by sunlight. Flicked on by Santa Cruz into the penalty area, rather lumped up in the air by Salata, up towards the edge of his own box, where Kozak will try and win the ball for Slovakia. He is fouled in the end by Riveros, and this will be a free kick to the team managed by Vladimir Weiss. And already in the second half there's a bit more urgency from Slovakia, but they're careless in possession at times, and they need to get the likes of Vladimir Weiss on the ball more often. He's on the ball now on the far side, the left, looking to take on the fullback, Da Silva, and plays a good ball in field towards Kozak, who holds up play well and plays it wide towards Petkovic now. The fullback on the edge of the penalty area. His shot, though, is well charged down by one of the strikers coming back, Barrios, and he runs the ball clear up towards the halfway line. But Slovakia have the ball back now via a throw-in. Skirtle. And now Petkovic, who rides the challenge of Valdez and breaks forward now down this near side, the right. He left the ball for Šešťák, who didn't pick it up, goes down dramatically, and in the end it's a throw into Paraguay.
We're always tempted to talk about Barrios as centre forward, obviously, and Santa Cruz, who we all know, but the other striker, Valdez, he plays generally in the left wing, coming into that area. Lots of energy, very strong, very quick, very direct. I like his attitude and his directness. Just again, another one of those players. If if he could have a little bit of a link-up play now and again. But for his attitude, his willingness to tackle back and play for the team as a tackling and defensive forward, he's actually very good as well.
Geraldo Martino, their coach, was mentored in Argentina by the Chilean coach, Marcelo Bielsa, and you can see similarities in the way their teams try and play this game. I think Chile have better individual players in certain areas, but there is a flair about the Paraguayan team. But as you say, the longer you go into a competition, you can't survive on flair alone.
Yeah, you need organisation and structure. I hate to say things like that, but it may well be that, you know, the South Americans aren't really big in that. I mean, Argentina, let's be fair about it, they're not the most structured defensive unit you've ever seen, but they look great so far.
You score 3, we'll score 5.
Precisely.
And Slovakia bring the ball forward, but then give the ball away. Riveros plays it forward for Paraguay, down this near side. He's challenged by Kozak. The ball bounces into the Paraguayan dugout, and this will be a throw into the team in red and white stripes, playing from right to left in this second half, and a number of the local fans here chose to occupy themselves with some very eye-catching singing and dancing the longer the first half went on. But there's still a very important match for both teams, as Paraguay are awarded a free kick on halfway, a foul on Nelson Valdez. And it's not really surprising that the local fans were bored, Pat, because it was that sort of game.
Yeah, and they've taken to dancing to our left here, and they always dance in time. It's something you don't really see. Yeah. It's a great sight. It's something you don't always see at British grounds, everyone dancing in unison. But sadly, as Mark Chapman was alluding to, it's not the greatest game so far, so yes, you will see things like that, signs like that, things that will keep you interested apart from on the pitch, because there are long, dull periods in this game so far.
And it's worth making the point as well, this not a natural football area. This ground here is the home of the Free State Cheetahs, who play in the Rugby Union Super 14. Behind us is the cricket ground, where the Free State Province play. It's also a venue used on a number of occasions for one-day internationals when England have been on tour. And behind the stand on the far side, we can see the lights from the Athletic Stadium, and that was where the barefoot runner Zola Budd came to prominence before becoming a British citizen and controversially taking part in the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. So football here doesn't really come on the radar apart from when the World Cup is in town. Slovakia bring the ball forward now, down this near side there right with Šešťák. His ball into the penalty area, hits Morel, and that will be a throw into the team, wearing all white, needing to find a way back into this game following their draw with New Zealand and with Italy coming up in the final game. Šešťák with the ball into the penalty area over the head of Vitek, the only player inside the penalty area wearing a Slovak white shirt, and that will be a throw on the far side to Paraguay.
Kind of sums them up. Absolutely sums Slovakia up so far. They've got a throw in right up the park, you know, they're in along about 16 yards from the goal. You know you've got a decent chance of getting a cross in the centre. The cross comes in the centre, and as you rightly say, one player that they have sent up, and they're a goal down just now. The World Cup's beckoning to get through against a team here that, you know, they have got certain weaknesses, I think, defensively, Paraguay. But I'll tell you what, Slovakia for me so far, they just haven't been adventurous enough.
52 minutes played. Paraguay still lead here by a 0-0 on 5 Live Sport from the BBC. Coming up at 3 o'clock, Italy against New Zealand, also in Group F, from that wonderful stadium in Nels Plate. Robbie Savage, part of our team there. And the big game of the day, possibly from a wider point of view, Brazil against the Ivory Coast, 7:30 tonight in Group G in Johannesburg. And between the second and third games here on 5 Live, we'll be looking ahead to Wimbledon, which starts tomorrow, of course, with our correspondent Jonathan Overend between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, and then 6:06 with Pat and Colin Murray between 6 and 7. As Muka, the goalkeeper for Slovakia, plays a dreadful clearance towards this near side, bounces on the top of the fourth official's dugout, and that will be a throw in to Paraguay down this near side in the part of the pitch now covered in shadow, and despite the bright sunshine on the far side, it's becoming just a bit chilly here on the central plateau in Free State Province and Bloemfontein.
You get people thinking we are soft again, old chap.
It is chilly. You're in the coat. I'm in the jumper. You're in the coat, Neville.
Well, the listeners didn't know that until you opened your big mouth, did they?
At least the insects have gone away anyway. It wasn't an insect, it was a dinosaur, you know, it was a predator. To throw into Paraguay on the far side, and as you'll gather, this match not exactly taking the eye at the moment, and it must be warm on the far side because some of the Paraguayan fans have taken off their shirts and they're bare-chested, male we should add, wheeling their shirts above their heads. It's about 40 degrees here and about 60 degrees over there. It's the way it is. It's rather incongruous as well here in South Africa that we have wonderful warm sunny days, but you look at the leaves and on the trees and there aren't too many. It's a winter climate, but I think the winters here often more preferable to what we have in summer in the UK. As Paraguay defend again down this near side with Morel. His header though only finds Petkovic. And a good ball in field to find Kozak, a rather lazy ball down the right hand side trying to find Vitek, and it's cleared away by Paraguay down this near side with 9 minutes played in the second half, and Paraguay still lead here by that solitary goal to nil, and in a group of few goals and no wins so far, this could be a very important day for them. Petkovic though plays it forward for Slovakia down this near side, and now Hamšík, a good ball to find Vitek on the edge of the penalty area, but the play is held up by the Slovaks until they play it wide to the far side. A high ball played into the penalty area over the head though of Sturber, the holding midfielder, up in the box. Yet again, not too many white shirts there, and it bobbles into the arms of Villar, the Paraguayan goalkeeper.
I'm trying to see who to blame most here just now. Obviously disappointed with the fact that the Slovakians haven't pushed it forward, so they must be partially to blame for the fact that the game's gone a bit dull. There's no need for the Paraguayans to push or too much just now. They're ahead in the game, but I think possibly the fault is with yourself, Nigel. How many games have you done so far, and how many win-nils have we had?
I've done 5, and we've had 5. This is the 6th.
So far.
And you may have gathered it's a point I've been rather labouring between games here.
Just a tad.
The crowd, by the way, 26,643. And I wonder how many of those people actually paid to get into this stadium and were here, having played full price at least, at the start of the game. I certainly hope the school kids up in the upper tier away to our right-hand side didn't have to pay too much to come to this game. They're enjoying themselves, waving their vuvuzelas above their heads. Not quite the smallest crowd so far. That was for Slovakia, New Zealand. As Šestak now comes forward for Slovak. Down this near side, a ball into the penalty area, defended by Alcaraz, and that will be a throw-in to Slovakia. Taken quickly by Kozak, and he gets the ball back and finds Petkovic, and now Kozak again, but it's very, very laboured for Slovakia once they reach the final third. But Petkovic manages to play the ball into the penalty area, cleared away as far as Šestak. His shot hits Hamšík inside the penalty area, his teammate, and Paraguay tried to bring the ball away, but neither side has had a shot on target so far in the second half with 11 minutes played. A long ball played forward now, looking for Hamšík inside the penalty area. Good challenge though from De Silva, and that will be a throw-in to Slovakia.
I think the last minute or two has lifted a little bit, and surprisingly it's the Slovaks that have actually managed to do that. They've got a little bit of a rocket. Maybe sometimes you look down and you see players warming up, and that sometimes gets the guys on the field to try that bit harder.
Vitek now trying to turn inside the penalty area, and he plays a good ball down the line, but the flag's up for offside against Hamšík, and Paraguay will have the relative safety of a free kick.
There must be a consideration now for some changes to be made by Slovakia, because as you said, there'll be no shots in goal in the second half. Precious few in the first half as well. In fact, precious few attacks the first half by Slovakia, so surely they must try something quite soon.
Paraguay bring the ball forward again, heading for 4 points from 2 games here, which will put them in a very, very strong position when they go to Polokwane to play their final group game against New Zealand. Of course, we're all assuming that Italy will beat New Zealand today, but after the last few days here at the World Cup, it's very dangerous to assume anything, as Paraguay foul on the far side, the challenge coming in from Bonnet, and that will be a free kick to Slovakia. And the game just needs a kick up the pants, doesn't it?
No, it does. It needs something. And the great disappointment is you're looking around for individuals and think, well, who's got the body language, who's putting the effort in, who wants to make a name for himself today? And there's very, very few that look A, capable, and B, willing to even try to do so. Maybe Weiss is willing to do so for Slovakia, but whether he's actually good enough to do that, I don't really know.
Paraguay moving the ball forward now. It's played over the top, looking for the run of Valdez, but it's cut out well. Good defending by Petkovic, but Paraguay have the ball back now. Space on this near side in the shadows for Barrios, who set up the goal scored by Vera after 27 minutes here. And now back again towards Riveros. There are more Paraguayan shirts moving forward now, but they're content to play their triangles down this near side. Morel's ball into the penalty area is beyond Barrios, and it should be cleared away down this near side by Skirtle, who turns away from the attacker and does well to find Petkovic. We'll be hearing from David James, the England goalkeeper, at full time in this game, following some very interesting words from John Terry, which you'll have heard at the start of 5 Live Sport today, and also during half-time as well. So David James coming up at the end of this game.
Some exceptional comments from David James after the game.
I think the silences said it all, didn't they, really?
Oh, absolutely. I thought exceptional comments. And I think that's, for those comments, are the reason why people started to think there was a problem within the camp.
Caceres now plays a good ball forward on the far side for Paraguay. Controlled by Riveros. High ball hooked into the penalty area. Santa Cruz will bring the ball under control. Fizzes it back into the box and it's cleared away on the half volley by Skirtle. 6 yards out. Morel plays the ball in first time. It's a scuffed cross and it's volley cleared by Sheshtak up towards the halfway line, where Vitek does well to control the ball on his chest ahead of Alcaraz. He moves forward now. He appeals for a free kick as Alcaraz makes the challenge. It's played back towards VR. And nothing doing there for Vitek.
Did you notice that you actually mentioned Santa Cruz's name there for the first time
in the half?
Honestly, his, again, body language, attitude is bordering on a disgrace. He played the ball in and he walked for the next minute. It's as if it's beneath him to make the effort to even get back onside. I can understand why he was left out before. He's a quality player, but he needs to do it more often.
Santa Cruz coming forward now, twisting and turning down the Paraguayan left. A good ball inside towards Vera, who tries to play the ball down the channel, looking for Morel, but it was rather under-hit, and the sliding challenge comes in from Petkovic, and that will be a Paraguayan throw-in down this near side. No doubt, Pat, they've got more quality.
Oh, yeah, but, whether they use it to its maximum effect, I don't know if they're doing that just now, but a number of players I'm watching. If you actually add both of them together, the work rate of one and the quality of the other, you probably get a real quality player. You're talking about Valdez, great work rate going forward for Paraguay, but Santa Cruz, great quality, work rate bordering on non-existence in this game. And in actual fact, I prefer Valdez because, everyone, we were listening to Robbie Savage talking there, everyone should work, everyone should put effort in. For me, Santa Cruz would be a big disappointment today.
61 minutes played here in Bloemfontein. Paraguay leads Slovakia in Group F on your World Cup station, BBC 5 Live, by 1-0. Italy playing New Zealand, watched by Robbie Savage and Nels Praet at 3 o'clock. Brazil against the Ivory Coast at 7:30. And following that game at 10 o'clock tonight, we'll have coverage of the final round of the US Open golf from Pebble Beach in California. On the far side, at walking pace, Sturber brings it forward now for Slovakia, but he accelerates, and it's a powerful run on the far side, the left, into the penalty area, tries to drive the ball in. The challenge comes in from Bonnet, and that will be a corner, I think Slovakia's first corner on the far side.
Tell you what, it's possibly the best piece of play that they've had in this second half, and it's just a willingness to get forward there from his, I think it was Dorica, from the left back area, hammers down the left wing. I just don't understand why we've not seen more of that, at least an attempt to get down that line.
Jan Kozak will take the corner on the far side, the Slovakian left. Vitek and Sheshtak wait on the edge of the penalty area. Curled in towards that near post, goes beyond everybody, but Vladimir Weiss manages to pick the ball up now down this near side. He slips, but regains his footing, regains possession. Plays the ball back towards Skirtle. High diagonal ball into the penalty area. 2 Paraguayan players go for the same ball, and now Kozak with the ball back into the penalty area, headed away by Riveros. And Petkovic now all the way back towards Skirtle, who turns around on the halfway line and plays it back towards his goalkeeper.
Well, the tone of your voice says absolutely everything you need to know there. They've got a little bit of pressure on, and for some incredible reason, completely beyond me, they decide to go back 70, 80, 90 yards to the goalkeeper. When they put a little bit of pressure on, the Paraguayans are on their heels. That's completely beyond me, and I think it was obviously beyond you too, Nigel.
63 minutes played here. Paraguay lead by 1-0. A long ball downfield, flicked on by Barrios. He can't find Valdez, and it's into the arms of Muka again. He made a couple of decent saves in the first half, one notable one from Roque Santa Cruz earlier on, but neither goalkeeper has been worked too hard here. Slovakia yet to have a single effort on target so far now, with over an hour played in this game. They really need to win. As a move breaks down again, it's flicked on by Sheshtak, looking for Weiss, but it will be picked up down this near side by Bonnet. A long ball down the line, overhit though. You can see the exasperation on the face of his coach, Geraldo Martino, as the ball goes out for a throw into Slovakia. And now Weiss fouls Caceres, and that will be a free kick to Paraguay.
Do you know what? There's an open invitation here from Paraguay an absolute open invitation for Slovakia to come into the game. And Slovakia just will not take it. They will not just up the... It seems so obvious that they can push forward, because Paraguay, they've stepped completely off the gas just now. They're a better team than they have been shown in this second half. But instead of Slovakians pushing on and taking advantage of it, hardly seen it at all.
Aureliano Torres, a midfielder for Paraguay, is about to come on. He played in the first game and was dropped today for Roque Santa Cruz. As Paraguay play long ball forward, Barrios seemed to use his arm there to control it, but Skrtel clears away up towards the halfway line for Slovakia, and it bounces away for a throw into Paraguay. And Bonnet will take it with 65 minutes played here.
I'm intrigued to see who will come off from Paraguay. If it was me, I'd be tempted to take Santa Cruz off because of the way he's walking around, but we shall see what his manager thinks.
Santa Cruz breaks into a trot now as he chases towards the edge of the penalty area. Skrtel gets there ahead of him, and Santa Cruz will try and pen him in by the corner flag on the far side, and eventually Skrtel's clearance falls to Santa Cruz, who falls down dramatically, but Vera tries to win it back, and Santa Cruz has gone down and stayed down on the far side, clutching his right ankle, and he may receive some treatment.
I think he actually did get hit there. I think Skrtel did catch him there. He will survive, but Skrtel with a slightly agricultural tackle takes him out. That's as clear a kick as you'll ever see. That was a foul,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yes. In a dangerous area, but the Paraguayans haven't got it.
Throw in to Slovakia on the far side. It's a very pedestrian game on a Sunday afternoon here in Bloemfontein. Throwing down the line for Slovakia. Headed infield though, and Paraguay win it back with Barrios and plays it square towards one of the fullbacks, Morel, and both players, Morel and Bonnet, always very keen to go forward. Down the line towards this near side, and Valdez, who turns Petkovic, heads towards the byline. The challenge comes in though, second time of asking from Petkovic, but Valdez does well to win the ball back. His crossing though is charged down. He then fouls Weiss, does he? No, he doesn't, but the clearance from Petkovic hits Valdez, and that will be a throw-in to Slovakia down this near side.
Yeah, good work in the corner there, but no one seemed to have the skill to get away from the other player. But once again, it's that chap Valdez we're talking about. He's working very, very hard. His attitude's been really good so far. I've just got a horrible feeling the manager might take him off and bring Torres on, and I think that'd be very, very unfair on Valdez.
Are you suggesting he may be the lower maintenance player in the dressing room?
That would be what I would take out of it, if that is exactly what happened just now. But we shall see what the manager feels.
Bonnet now comes forward for Paraguay. On the far side there, right, Santa Cruz offers himself short, but it's played even shorter to Riveros. And a good ball towards this near side. That was unlucky. It was driven towards Morel, but the ball bounces over his head, and that will be a throw into Slovakia down this near side, just inside their own half. And the change is made, and you were right. Valdez coming off, and Torres coming on.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Valdez is working harder than anyone else. He's working harder than Barrios, who isn't doing too badly. And for me, Santa Cruz, who's now leaning over as if he's completely exhausted, and I have no idea why, because he's hardly broken into a jog in this second half. He stays on the field. However, having said that, Santa Cruz is the more likely scorer.
Possibly so. We've reached the midpoint of the second half. Paraguay leads Slovakia by 1-0 through to full time with Alistair Bruce ball.
Thank you, Nigel. I tell you what, Pat, though, that sort of decision, I mean, Valdez has worked extremely hard, can bring dissension amongst the ranks. Yes, they may be saving him for later games in the competition and the final game against New Zealand, but if he'd worked that hard and Santa Cruz stays on, you might be sort of tempted not to work so hard further down the line.
And it's obviously all the way through the team and the group. The players will know who's working hard, who's putting a shift in. And if somebody who's not putting a shift in stays on the park because he's a big name and he's walked about throwing his arms up in the air just as he does again just now, players spot that, players know that.
Roque Santa Cruz, just watching him in this second half as well, and Pat's picked up on it a few times, there's something about the way he moves even with this sort of magisterial strut that he does feel the whole thing is beneath him, and it's an absolute privilege for us all to come and watch him. I know we're hammering him a little bit hard, but look at him now at the moment. The ball is inside the Slovakian half. Barrios comes sort of, I wouldn't say herring over, but jogging on to put some pressure on the ball. Santa Cruz waves his arms in the air and shouts at everyone else to do the work. Paraguay leading Slovakia by 1-0. We've got about 21 minutes or so until full time. And just to remind you, at full time, in the break between this game and our next commentary, Italy against New Zealand at 3 o'clock, we will be hearing from England goalkeeper David James. who came out with those very revealing comments after the 0-0 draw against Algeria. So it'll be very interesting, Pat, to hear what he has to say, because he's not afraid to speak his mind, even if it's not necessarily for the good of the team.
I'm wondering if he'll take a step back from those comments, because I must admit, I thought to myself that they were so strong reading between the lines. I felt there was a real problem within the dressing room with the answers that David James was making. And I'm thinking, if manager can't put up with that, can't accept that if he wants to have a good feeling within the group. So I wonder if David will take a step back for it and say, oh, he was just upset after the game.
Well, stay tuned. That would be my advice to you, because, as I say, after the full-time whistle goes here, we will be hearing from England goalkeeper David James, having already heard from John Terry from the England camp. Wednesday is your next nail-biting evening, by the way, for England, Acton. 3 o'clock kick-off in the afternoon, so you're going to have to sort something out if you're working with the boss, a day off, or sneakily get the radio into the office. England against Slovenia from Port Elizabeth. It will decide whether England stay at this World Cup for further games or they go home, and then possibly, as has been speculated this morning, it could be the end of Fabio Capello's reign. So that's in a few days' time. 20 minutes to play here. Paraguay still leading by 1-0. I think it's safe to say, but I don't think I'm putting my neck on the line by saying this is not going to go down as the best game at this World Cup. I wouldn't even put it in the top. Well, how many have we had so far? I mean, it's been poor, hasn't it?
It's in the lower quartile, shall we say that much?
Yes, I think that's polite. Anyway, Slovakia still need to do something about it. And I'd certainly recommend you to keep listening, because it does still just remain 1-0. So it could change very quickly and could change the complexion of this group. And of course, it's a rule anyway during the World Cup. When the World Cup is on, it only comes round once every 4 years. You have to listen to every single game. So if you're tuned in now, do not switch off. Brazil Ivory Coast should be a cracker this evening, by the way. That's our 7:30 game tonight here on Radio 5 Live. Morel, the left back for Paraguay. They're in the red and white vertical stripes with the blue shorts and the blue socks. Santa Cruz, here he is inside the penalty area, comes alive, crosses in, headed down, is just wide. It was from Vera, the goal scorer. He was looking for a second, headed down, it almost shaved the post. It still remains 1-0 though.
Yeah, that was good movement on the left-hand side. Torres, the player who came on, he was the one that darted into his space, pulled a couple of players across with him, and the ball was released at the right time. I gave Santa Cruz a chance to get to the byline and give him his due. He played absolutely the right cross ball back, just not quite good enough to get it on target when it went in there. Suddenly
a little bit of life in the game has almost filled the stadium with air, which in turn has filled the vuvuzelas with air, which means you can hear a real blast from them around the stadium. One of the Paraguayan players is down, has taken a knock. It's Alcaraz, the centre-back, who'll be playing in the Premier League for Wigan next season. He stays down. By the way, Nelson Valdez, who was substituted, Pat, he was linked with a possible move to Wigan this summer. Plays for Borussia Dortmund at the moment. But watching him, you'd think, well, if Wigan got him, that would be good.
Then I'll tell you what, he could do a job. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the big thing you have to do, you play in the Premier League, you have to be capable of the work rate, the attitude, tackling. I mean, especially sides like Wigan, and not being disrespectful in any way to Wigan here, they do need battlers, and you do need people that are willing to work their passes to make sure that they stay in the league, because that's what they want to do right from the start of every season. They want to make sure they stay in the league.
Alcaraz is okay. Rather amusingly, Roque Santa Cruz came over the bench to get some water because he's been working so hard, and he sprayed it on his calves as well, because he's obviously been running so hard that his feet and legs must be extremely hot.
I'll give him some leeway. I'll cut him a little bit of slack just now, and the fact that he has had a good number of injuries this season.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, it's not that. It's his attitude. He plays a ball. And what you do when you play a goal, everyone will tell you, the first thing you do, play a ball, then move. Move into a different position, give your teammate an option. He doesn't do that. He plays the ball and he enjoys watching where the ball goes. And he often leaves his teammate in trouble by not giving him an angle to get on the end of it. So that's the thing more than anything else. I think about what it'd be like to play alongside him. At the moment, it wouldn't be a joy.
Paraguay leading Slovakia by 1-0 in Bloemfontein. I can't remember whether I mentioned the Slovakian change, but they've made a change up front. Seštak, who was on a yellow card, picked up a yellow card in this game, has gone off. Philippe Holosko, who plays his club football before Besiktas, has come on, broke his leg rather badly earlier this season. Eventually managed to come back from that injury, but missed a few games towards the end of the season with pain in the same leg. So he has come on up front for Slovakia, and they really, really do have to offer more in this second half, because at the moment They are trailing. Not just that, they face Italy in their final group game, and Paraguay face New Zealand. So at the moment, if you're a Paraguayan, I think you'd be very happy with the way things stand. Slovakia in the white shirts with the blue stripes on shoulders and the sides of their shorts have possession inside their own half. Zdenko Sturba, the holding midfielder, plays back into his defence. Here they come down the left-hand side, and it's Hamšík who's trying to win the ball off Paulo da Silva of Sunderland. He can't do so. The two of them just exchange a high five, and the ball goes behind for a goal.
He's been invisible, hasn't he?
Oh, totally.
Hamšík has been completely invisible in this game for a player with high expectations of, obviously from Slovakians, but obviously he's played at a high level, in Europe as well.
Captain as well, Pat, so you've got to show yourself, haven't you? You've got to lead.
Yeah, I suppose you could argue you need quality players around you to give the ball in good areas, and he hasn't received the ball in good areas, but generally really he's added nothing to the game so far. 15
minutes to play. Our first World Cup commentary on your World Cup station, Radio 5 Live, this Sunday afternoon. Italy, New Zealand, full commentary at 3 o'clock. Brazil, Ivory Coast. Kicks off at 7:30 tonight. Vera, the goal scorer, into the feet of Barrios. Little 1-2 between those two. Vera tries to get the shot away. It's a good tackle in the end by Kozak, who tracked back from midfield for Slovakia. And they now have possession just in front of their own half. David James, the England goalkeeper. An interview with him, which we will play to you in about 15 minutes or so. Which will be well worth listening to.
I'm staying in my position in conference position here to make sure I don't miss that one either.
Well, Pat Nevin will be talking to you, the listeners, on 6:06 this evening. Get your calls in to Pat, 0500 909 693 850 58. He'll be taking an hour of your calls, and I've got a feeling, Pat, very simply, you'll just be asked to put the whole England situation right in an hour or so.
Fabio Capella's had more than an hour, and he's not managed to do it yet.
But that's why we're paying you $6 million a year. Not quite.
Lira.
Yeah, fair point. The Paraguayan fans in the stand opposite us, alongside the touchline, 2 or 3 of them have gone this sort of Newcastle route. They've got the tops off. They are in the sunshine. It's probably warm enough in the sunshine for that. It's not quite a sort of December afternoon at St James's Park. And they're watching their team lead by 1-0 and possibly put themselves in a really strong position in this Group F. Coming forward, might hit a strike from a long way out with the left foot, goes rasping over the crossbar there for Paraguay. It's the substitute Torres who let fly. Again, with the long-range shooting, very, very difficult once we see people hit them like that to keep them down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they do, or many players do this, but when they're at training between games, you've got to think, you've got to work on being able to hit a ball for it bouncing just in front of the goalkeeper, because that's where the goals have come from. There's very, very few goals have come from the shots from 30 yards or 25 yards that are being struck with the laces and going in the top corner. Very, very few of them.
13 minutes to play. Paraguay leading Slovakia by 1-0. Man of the match award, I think, is a collective one to the local African fans who are behind the goals, either, and particularly the ones away to our left-hand side behind Jan Muka's goal, who have not stopped in unison. A good sort of 400, 500 of them dancing, singing. I noticed about 10 minutes or so ago, Pat, half of the dance involved turning round and turning you back to the action for about 10 seconds. So you're not going to miss anything, though.
I wonder if there was a comment being made there.
Yes, exactly. Come on, lads. Sort it out. 13 minutes to play. But it's all good for Paraguay at the moment. Leading by 1-0. Have never reached the quarter-finals at a World Cup tournament. Quite regularly get themselves out of the groups. But yet to reach the quarter-finals. Have played some nice football. Have got some good strikers. And it's another thing watching the likes of Paraguay, Uruguay, etc., Pat, not just Argentina, Brazil, but the way England are playing at the moment. If they came up against one of these South American teams, the way they're keeping the ball, they would struggle.
I have to say, possibly. I was very impressed by Chile. Maybe as the game has gone on, less so with Paraguay. I can see quite a number of weaknesses there. I don't think England would have anything great to fear from Paraguay if England played at their best.
Yes, which they have been far short of so far at this World Cup. Ball's gone out for a Paraguay throw. Want to take it quickly. The goal scorer, Vera, plays on the right-hand side of midfield, took his goal really well in the first half, tracks down about 10 yards down the right-hand side, manages to get a bit of movement out of Roque Santa Cruz, but now he's laid the ball off. That's enough, I think. He's just going to stop and walk. Torres tries to play forward to Barrios. Paraguay have gone, Pat's absolutely right, very quiet in this second half, seemed quite content with the 1-0, but as they should remember from their opening group game, took the lead and then conceded one against Italy, and Slovakia will tell them as well, they conceded in the very last minute against New Zealand.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that you'd expect in a last 5 or 10 minutes where something extreme happens, or at least someone tries something, but to all intents and purposes, for me, Slovakia are going out right here and now.
Yes.
I can't see them winning the next game, so they've got to get something out of this game, and it's as if it hasn't quite dawned on them yet.
No, and actually the more sort of urgent coach on the sidelines has been Martino for Paraguay rather than Vladimir Weiss. Dad Vladimir Weiss, the coach of the side, who looks like the city businessman in his pinstripe suit, but doesn't look possibly as if he's transmitting the urgency that his players need.
And an odd one, if you look at this group, the way it's set out, this group, you expect basically Italy will go through. And it's a matter of who goes through apart from them. Now, New Zealand are unlikely because New Zealand are not a great side, and you get the feeling in many ways this was a game that would decide who goes through. So you expected not exactly fireworks, but a good game and a great attitude, and tackles flying in, people flying forward. It just ain't happened.
It amazes me as well, Pat, the amount of games we do sit at a tournament like this, biggest occasion of players' lives, and we're still saying things like they don't seem up for it. I just can't believe that.
Yeah, part of it sometimes has got to do with it's the end of a season. You know, some players are just absolutely exhausted. They're playing with little injuries. And more often than not, most players will have an injury of some sort come this point of the season. But even so, you could lift it for a period of the game.
Paraguay 1, Slovakia 0. Definitely going to earn the cold beer this evening after this game. Here's Torres, the Paraguayan substitute, number 17 on his back. Roque Santa Cruz comes short and clips a little pass back to him. Morel dinks a ball down the line. Here goes Torres. He should have plenty of energy. He's just come on the field. Kozak nips in and makes the tackle for Slovakia. And Oscar Cardozo is going to come on, but they're not going to take Roque Santa Cruz off. They're going to take the other striker, Lucas Barrios, off. Cardozo is a 6'4" centre forward who has scored a shed load of goals for Benfica this season, 38 in total, 26 in the league. And Mr. Santa Cruz remains on the field, Pat Nevin.
He obviously feels as if he can get a goal. And of course he may not be as tired as Barrios, because Barrios has run about a little bit.
It's a fair point. Lucas Barrios, who is a recent convert to Paraguay, was born in Argentina, has a Paraguayan mother. Some of the Paraguayan fans, they have an Argentine coach, of course, in Martino, have voiced their displeasure at the number of Argentines that have been drafted in to play for them, but Barrios has had 5 caps and scored 3 goals, so I don't think they'll be too disappointed with him. We're going to see a Chelsea player here, Pat.
Absolutely, Stock.
Miroslav Stock is going to come on for Slovakia. They've taken the centre-back Salata off, so finally it's an attacking thrust from the coach. Stock immediately goes over to the left-hand side. He's had a really good season on loan under Steve McLaren at SC20, winning the title in Holland and scoring 10 goals. But here's Cardozo for Paraguay. Slovakia cleared the ball to the halfway line, so they've got 2 zippy wingers on now. The coach's son Weiss on one side, Stock on the other side, who's just come on in his bright yellow boots. You would know more than me about him, Pat. What do you think of him as a player?
Yeah, well, he's pacey, he's strong, he's very, very direct just now. And while we were actually chatting about that, Weiss, the winger's getting absolutely furious. He's got a yellow card, but it feels as if the Paraguayan that he's tackled, and I'm not sure who
Torres,
it was. Was it Torres? Yeah. Is making a meal of it. Weiss is furious about that, but I'll tell you what, it's a modern game, mate. People do make a meal of things. And do you know what? You're just about right there. I'm trying to see, I can't see any foul there at all.
No. Cheesy line for you. Vladimir Weiss, of course, son of coach Dad Vladimir Weiss. It's Father's Day. Had that all prepared, of course, if he was going to score a crucial goal today. But Slovakia have offered so little in this second half, and time is running out for them, trailing by a goal to nil here on 5 Live. David James' interview coming very shortly after the full-time whistle here, and then we will be across to Nelspruit Italy against New Zealand, also in this group, kicking off at 3 o'clock. Brazil, Ivory Coast, really looking forward to that one. Kicks off at 7:30. Your 3 games tomorrow. Portugal, North Korea kicks off at 12:30. 3 o'clock is Chile against Switzerland, and then Spain play at 7:30 tomorrow night. Having lost their opening game against Switzerland, they come up against Honduras. 6 minutes to play. Paraguay have possession in the sunshine here in Bloemfontein in a half-empty stadium, and what's been a pretty flat game, but actually a really important game for Paraguay, because if they do go into their final game on 4 points against New Zealand, then you really would have to fancy them making it through the group. Skirtle's had an arm up. He's caught Cardozo in the side of the head. Cardozo's made the most of it, and Paraguay get the free kick.
Not the first time, once again, that you see Skirtle doing that. Elbow straight into the face. Just at the moment, funnily enough, Cardozo coming on, there's a little bit more life from Santa Cruz. They must be mates. Those two must be friends. They're kind of a little bit more movement. But as you say, you've waited a long time for Slovakia to go for it. As you say, there are 2 wingers on, Stokes on as well. Hasn't had a touch of the ball yet, but he gets some pace, playing that left-hand side. Can he get the ball?
Let's see if Paraguay can kill it off here. Free kick killed into the box, nodded down. Oh, it almost came across. Might be another chance here. Ball's in the penalty area. Played back to the edge of the box, and it's rifled into the roof of the net. It's Sunderland's Christian Riveros who's scored the goal, who's won the game, and who's put Paraguay into a fantastic position in Group F. Slovakia 0, Paraguay 2. A wonderful goal to lift a very disappointing game.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great strike there. Smacked it with his left foot from about 16 yards or so. He should have had an opportunity to hit it before that, but Cardozo, the striker, had just come on, got in his way and tackled him inside his box. He tackled his own player inside the box. Cardozo is actually still hobbling from that, but it comes back, as you say, to the number 16 there, Anik Riveros, and he catches it brilliantly straight into the corner. Well deserved over the 90 minutes, even though it's not been a fantastic display by Paraguay in this second half. Absolutely certain at this point in time Slovakia are going out, and they don't deserve to stay in.
I was just going to say, Pat, I mean, Paraguay haven't done that much in the second half, but the onus was always on Slovakia, and therefore you have no sympathy really. They've offered nothing in the second half.
Well, the argument that their coach could give you just now is, OK, I've gone for it now, I've gone for 2 wingless, I've gone for 4-2-4. Minutes after I've went for it, we've lost a goal. That's why I didn't go for it earlier.
Well, I think
that's his argument he could make, yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And by the way, Steve Bruce, if you're listening, Christian Riveros, Sunderland have signed him from Mexican side. Cruz Azul has just whacked one into the top corner with a lovely finish, so if you can show a bit more of that next season, I think Steve Bruce will be very happy.
He's not spent a lot of time up the field, it has to be said. He's been much more defensive minded as a midfielder, but certainly he'll have enjoyed that moment, and he caught it very well, as I say, from about 16 yards.
Final change to come. Enrique Vera, who scored the first goal for Paraguay, is coming off. Edgar Barreto is coming on. Plays his club football for Atalanta, one of 2 Barreto brothers in this Paraguay side. The other one is a goalkeeper, and the Paraguayan fans opposite us in the sunshine in Bloemfontein in their red and white stripes are waving shirts, scarves, flags above their head. They are cock-a-hoop. They lead by 2-0, and it is looking very good for them in terms of making it through to the knockout stages. Not long to go, 2.5 minutes to play. Paraguay leading by 2-0. Throw in for Slovakia is down by the byline. Holosko tries to control it. He's tackled, and the ball is knocked out for another throw. 10 yards short of the corner flag on the left-hand side. Kozak with his back to goal as 2 Paraguayan defenders for company. Roque Santa Cruz is back there working hard for his team. Here's Stock, edge of the box, drives the shot in, it's blocked. Riveros now down at the other end in with a tackle. Stock comes in way too hard on him. Frustration boiling over there. Riveros will stay down. And I thought Stock might get a yellow card for that, but anyway, Paraguay will get the free kick.
Yeah, and they've got up and got on with that a bit as well. I mean, at least one thing you'll say about Stock, he's got into it. He's got involved in it as much as he possibly can, but very frustrating for the youngster himself, because desperate to get on. He gets on with 7 or 8 minutes to go. The game's almost finished. He's coming out of the World Cup, and he gets his little chance.
Just other things to flag up to you in terms of 5 Live coverage this afternoon. Jonathan Overend, our tennis correspondent, will be on at 5:30 with a Wimbledon preview for you. Wimbledon starting tomorrow. Pat Nevin on 6:06 tonight with Colin Murray. taking your calls. I'm sure most of those will be England-based, and their performances at the World Cup so far. Brazil, Ivory Coast, our commentary from 7:30, and then from 10 o'clock tonight, commentary from Pebble Beach, that iconic golf course in California. Final round of the US Open Golf. Graham McDowell, Northern Ireland's Graham McDowell in the hunt. 3 shots off the lead, held by Dustin Johnson. A certain chap called Tiger Woods as well is 1 under par, just 5 shots back, so that is well worth a listen to. Sports Extra this afternoon has athletics coverage, the European Team Championships from Bergen in Norway, and then at 5:10 tonight, Wigan against St Helens in the Super League. So just flagging up everything for you across 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra this afternoon. We're in Bloemfontein, moving into the closing stages of a poor game, but a wonderful afternoon for Paraguay. They lead by 2-0. They've conceded a free kick here, midway inside their own half. Still no real urgency from Slovakia, almost as if they've given up the ghost. Kozak will drill it into the penalty area, right down the middle. It's headed powerfully away. Cardozo will work hard to try and keep it in. Well, we have 4 minutes of added time, so Slovakia should keep going.
What do you think the chances of Slovakia scoring 2 goals in the last 4 minutes here? It's highly unlikely, but at the moment, if they can survive Paraguay, and I say survive, I'm maybe pushing that a little bit strongly there, but if they can actually get through this, and then they know that they will almost certainly have a final game against Italy. Wait a moment.
Vladimir Weiss with the drive from outside the box, but to sum up Slovakia's day, it goes well wide.
Yeah, they probably realise that Italy are likely to win in the game against New Zealand. If that happens, Paraguay are in the wonderful position of knowing all they have to do is draw their next game against New Zealand, and they're through.
What are the chances of Slovakia scoring 2 goals in the last 4 minutes? Multiple choice question. A, extremely likely. B, not that likely. C, absolutely no hope whatsoever. I think the answer would be C. We have 3 minutes of the added time to play. Here's Durica, Slovakia's left back. Miroslav Stoch, who's a very busy, nippy little winger. His pass was intercepted by Santa Cruz, but deflected back to one of his own players. Kozak floats a ball down the right-hand touchline. Alcaraz, the Wigan centre-back, comes across and volleys it away. Stock has come all the way over from the left to the right-hand side, and he's actually just added that little bit of sort of impetus, hasn't he?
Yeah, do you know what? This is the liveliest period that I have seen for just about the entirety of the game from the Slovakian side. They've decided with 3 or 4 minutes, actually into injury time, to try and up the pace a little bit. A little bit late, lads.
Yeah, very late. Here's Hamšík, who's trying to get onto the ball. Edge of the box. Vitek with the right foot strike. Well saved. Tipped over by VR. Far too late for Slovakia this. But Vitek on the turn. Got the shot away. VR's tipped it over the bar. And Slovakia are going to take their corner quickly. Stock cushions a little volleyed pass in. The flag's up. It's offside. Paraguay will get a free kick. And just a little burst from them right at the end.
Yeah, it's kind of beyond me why they haven't done. I think possibly Stock's maybe part of the reason for it. You know, he's lively himself. He's put in a couple of tackles more than anything else. He's playing in the left wing. He's obviously very well named. He's stocky. He's direct. He wants to go and get involved in the games. And I can imagine he's thinking to himself, well, I'm not getting a game here. I'm only getting a little bit of a game. Weiss has played the entire game just about and done the square root of nothing.
And he's the manager's son as well, just to
bring on the nepotistic point again.
Yes. Well, look, here goes Stock again. Couldn't quite get onto the ball on the halfway line, so it comes back to the Paraguayan keeper. Resplendent, all in yellow, away to our right-hand side. Long clearance downfield. Santa Cruz just trying to get on the end of it. So's Cardozo, but managing to come away with the ball just about is Sturber. Here he is again. He's dropped back into central defence, actually, since Salata went off.
Do you know, if I was doing this for television,
yes,
I would have a camera directly on Santa Cruz and would actually be bordering on funny to watch his attitude as he walks around.
If it was one of those remote-controlled sort of, sensor-active cameras, it would have gone to sleep, wouldn't it? It would have turned itself off for as much as Santa Cruz has done. He had one shot in the first half, didn't he? That was well saved by Muka.
Do you know, the only reason we're having a go at him is because we know he's a player. Yeah. He's a right good player. He's quite capable of putting more effort, and he's quite capable of adding a lot more to the game. Maybe he's saving himself for the later rounds.
Paraguay leading by 2-0. Santa Cruz has gone down injured inside the Slovakia half. Stock's got real pace, nips in ahead of De Silva. De Silva then sort of knocks into him, knocks him away from the ball, and knocks the ball out for a throw-in. Stock was looking for a free kick. We've got about 10 seconds or so to go, and then the Paraguay fans can really start celebrating. And there goes the full-time whistle. Paraguay beat Slovakia by 2-0. Vera in the first half with a lovely well-taken finish. Riveros with a screamer in the second. Slovakia extremely disappointing, and Pat Nevin, Paraguay, look a really good bet now to make it through to the last 16.
Absolutely. I can't see any way that they're not going to make it through just now. And I'll tell you what, they won this game today at a jog. They didn't have to exert themselves in any way whatsoever. Huge disappointment from the Slovakian side. Didn't know if they had a huge amount of class anyway, but everyone, as Robbie Savage said at half-time, can put the effort in and work. They did not do that anywhere near enough during the entirety of this game. And I have to say about the game in its whole, it will not linger long in the memory.
Paraguay win at a jog, which suited the performance of Roque Santa Cruz. The players exchanging in the sunshine here in Bloemfontein. Very, very forgettable stuff. Over to you, Italy and New Zealand. Paraguay beating Slovakia by 2-0. I hope that the next game is just a little bit more exciting than that.